Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I, Pramiti Siddiqui, board member of Grameen Australia and Grameen Philippines, would like to welcome you all to the 12th Social Business Day. As I sit here in Sydney, Australia, I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land where I am, and pay my respects to the elders, both past and present. As we gather here today, our planet and civilization faces severe threats. Threats that arise from global warming, wealth concentration, and unemployment caused by the current profit-centric economy. Hence, it is imperative for us to act now and act together to combat these issues. This year's conference sets to address the challenge of building the foundations of a new civilization. We believe this conference will be a call to action, and it will inspire us to accelerate the process of redesigning the fundamental concepts and institutions on which our societies are based as we aim to create a new civilization. And hence the theme, building a new civilization before the current civilization destroys us. We have dignitaries, luminaries, speakers, and participants joining us via various technology platforms for this four-day gathering, starting from today across 6 continents, which this only reinforces our commitment to the cause. We gather here to share our experience, share our work, and hope it inspires countless more to join the change that the global social business movement is set to achieve. We are deeply inspired by the physical presence of participants and speakers from 6 universities across Zimbabwe, Kenya, Uganda, Benin, and the Central African Republic. As we go through, just a quick housekeeping note for the conference. All participants who are joining us via Zoom would have access to this session via the Zoom ticket that has been issued. Once a session ends, please revert back to your Zoom ticket and join the next session coming up accordingly. For any technical troubleshooting matters for speakers and panelists, please reach out to Urmi Hussain from Yunus Center. As for the academia panels and other sessions, the contact points would be Zinat Islam and Monica Rahman from the Yunus Center. We request all speakers to join the feed, to please have your microphones on mute if you're not addressing the audience. Once again, all the speakers who are joining the feed, if you're not addressing the audience, we request you to have microphones on mute. Please be mindful of the speaking times that have been allocated to you. Moderators are always requested to introduce respective speakers and presenters for each of their segment, and they will be assisted with timekeeping. All sessions which are timed will have a bell ring like such 60 seconds prior to the completion of allocated speaking time. Once the time is up, the bell will be rung twice. This event is being broadcasted via Zoom across multiple social media handles, and we request all participants to keep on posting, sharing, and tweeting. I would like to introduce our team of Master of Ceremonies, Robert Akoko, Monica Muririwa, Zinat Islam, Lamia Hafiz, and Uzair Ahmed. All of us in this team are spread pretty much across the globe, and we will be with you for the next 4 days. Without further ado, could I please request the opening video to be played? Sadia and Aziz, over to you for the opening video. Thank you very much for that video, and we hope That video highlights the daunting challenge that we had ahead of us in building a new civilization, but we have the affirmation that if all of us work together, we will be achieving it. It gives me great pleasure now to welcome the person who makes it all happen in the world of social business. She braves all the challenges, overcomes all the hurdles, and has been shattering the glass ceiling for the last 3 decades through her work and leadership in microfinance and social business. She leads the Yunus Center, which sits at the heart of the global social business movement and is a key board member on a number of social businesses across the globe. We'd like everyone to welcome Ms. Lamia Morshed, Executive Director of the Yunus Center, to deliver the welcome address. Lamia, over to you.
Thank you, Promi. Thank you very much for that. Good morning, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Sir, Dr. Devi Shetty, Hans, Saskia, and all our friends from the various universities that are co-hosting this event with us. It's very nice to see you. Thank you for being here. On behalf of the Yunus Center, I have the pleasure to welcome you to the 12th Social Business Day. The theme, as Promi already mentioned, for this year's Social Business Day is building a new civilization before the current civilization destroys us. Professor Yunus has been saying that the current civilization, which is based on profit maximization, has set us on a suicidal path of global warming, wealth concentration, and unemployment, and which will lead us to our ultimate extinction. Our window of opportunity to put humanity on a new path towards a new direction is getting smaller and smaller. We must prepare the seedbed of a new civilization before the opportunity slips away. This has to be built on an economy based primarily on zero personal profit to solve the problems of the people and the planet. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to wreak havoc on the lives of the most vulnerable people, and it showed up the weaknesses of our health systems and the inequity of our healthcare, partly due to the current imbalanced economic system that I just mentioned. We are facing in Bangladesh a new COVID wave, as well as very severe floods in the northeast of the country that show us that climate change is upon us now, not in the future sometime. Professor Yunus said during the pandemic that this disaster allows us to rethink and reimagine a new world, because there's no going back, and we must retool to build a new world of 3 zeros. He has, with all of us here, been working on creating examples of business, a mission-driven business called social business, to tackle more of these challenges that face us. These are inspired by the practice in Bangladesh, but led by individuals who have been inspired this practice around the world. Social Business Day is an annual event that provides a platform to the accumulated experiences of social businesses that give leadership and shape to the future. Over the next 4 days, you will hear from more than 152 speakers, including friends on the ground. We have 16 plenary sessions, 16 panels on particular themes, 6 sessions providing glimpses to 30 social businesses around the world. We also have 13 country forums and a series of new announcements from the social business world. The themes include healthcare, fighting unemployment, cross-country collaboration and fighting climate change, education, the role of sports, environment, 3-0 clubs, academic research and practice in social business. As Promi mentioned already, we have more than 700 participants registered from 66 countries who are joining globally on the Zoom event and also through our live broadcast. We are delighted that we co-organized this conference with Catholic University of Zimbabwe in Harare, with Makerere University, with Kampala International University, Tangaza University College, Kenya, University Abome, Calavi in Benin, and the CAMS School of Business from the Central African Republic. All of them have organized COVID-safe gatherings on their campus, and you can see that they have joined us via Zoom to be part of today's opening. Yunus Center in particular has a focus on academia and universities, and to date we have more than 100 academic institutions in 38 countries that have established Yunus Social Business Centers to drive academic programs and give young people the leadership and the tools to to work on social change and to follow a different path towards entrepreneurship as an alternative to traditional path of seeking jobs. Thank you to our brilliant speakers who have given their time to be with here today, Dr. Devi Shetty, and all of our brilliant open session speakers, as well as the speakers that will be joining us on the next 4 days. Thanks to our colleagues and leaders of the Grameen social business in Bangladesh who are joining to share their knowledge and experience. And also, I would like to thank our partners, supporters, my colleagues at the UNIS Center, Grameen organizations, and the team at YY Ventures who are working tirelessly to make this happen. Thank you to GCL, YSB, UNIS Sports Hub, UNIS Environment Hub, UNIS Thailand, all of our UNIS social businesses, and all the microcredit and social business partners from around the world who are here to share their experience. We look forward to discussions and exchanges that will lift us up and build energy to build a better world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lamia. Thank you for setting the tone and thank you for that wonderful overview. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the first keynote address at this point in time, Dr. Devi Prasad Shetty, the Managing Director of Narayana Hridayalaya. Dr. Shetty, a cardiac surgeon of great repute and a successful entrepreneur. He's a highly respected luminary for his ingenious ideas for reforms in the healthcare sector. His visionary leadership to make quality healthcare affordable for all has drawn global recognition. In association with the government of Karnataka, Dr. Shetty has pioneered a very inexpensive micro healthcare insurance scheme, benefiting more than 3.4 million rural poor. As the founder and chairman of the group of hospitals, Dr. Shetty is recipient of several prestigious awards, including the Padma Bhushan, the Padma Shri, and the Economist Innovation Award, amongst others. On a very personal note, going back 2 decades, mine is one of the countless lives that Dr. Shetty has saved. And it is with great honor that I would like to invite Dr. Shetty to please take the floor. Dr. Shetty, over to you.
Thank you so much. Most grateful. First of all, I would like to thank my friend and hero, Professor Muhammad Yunus, for giving me the opportunity to interact with all of you. COVID-19 has changed our world and turned it upside down. 100 years from now, if historians are ever to write the history of the world, there will be 2 chapters. One is BC, that is before COVID. Other one is AC, that is after COVID. That is the impact COVID has left behind. Global healthcare and wellness industry is the largest industry in the world, just below the food and agriculture industry, at $11 to $12 trillion. That is the amount of money spent on healthcare. Every other industry like automobile or oil and natural gas, they are nothing compared to the money spent on healthcare. But after spending huge amount of money, less than 20% of the world's population has access to safe, affordable, secondary and tertiary level healthcare. Something is dramatically wrong in the way healthcare is delivered across the world. Now, what is the biggest problem in delivering healthcare to all the citizens? The biggest problem is lack of skilled manpower. This world today requires additional, I'm specifying additional 80 million healthcare workforce in the next few years. Unfortunately, no country in the world has any plan to produce this additional workforce. And it takes decades to train these doctors, nurses, and technicians. Yet, no country has the plan. Now, why first world countries do not have the plan? They don't need to. The moment there is a shortage of doctors, nurses, technicians, all they have to do is to open their doors. And from all the developing countries, all the poor countries, all the doctors, nurses, technicians will fly away. There are instances when countries have faced closure of massive hospitals. because all of a sudden there was an exodus of nurses to these developed countries. Now, unless every country looks at healthcare delivery is a very, very fundamental service expected from the people, and COVID-19 has shown how fragile human life is. It doesn't matter you are the richest man or the most powerful person in the country. If you get COVID, you will behave exactly like a poor man on the street. So it is very important that a global strategy is made to build a skilled workforce. It's very easy for me to sitting in India to say that all African countries should have their own medical colleges, their own nursing colleges, because we have more than 600 medical colleges. For us, building a medical college is no big deal, but we are a very privileged country. So if we want Africa, Asia, and the other countries should build more and more of their own doctors, nurses, and technicians, we should go forward, help them to set up the medical college, nursing college. And the other important issue we need to address is the out-of-pocket expenses. Every country should have their own affordable health insurance for the people. And this should be available on a mobile phone with a very, very tiny premium. And if that happens, most of the people can afford to pay. Depending on the taxpayers' money for the healthcare will not lead us anywhere. With this short note, I would like to end by saying that the progressive steps taken in our government, by our government in the last few years, we have no doubt that in the near future, India will become the first country in the world to dissociate healthcare from affluence. India will prove to the world that the wealth of the nation has nothing to do with the quality of healthcare its citizens can enjoy. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I'm most grateful.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shetty. We deeply appreciate your time for joining us and inspiring us with your words. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now move on to our next recorded keynote address. I'm deeply humbled at this point in time when I do this introduction. His Excellency Jose Ramos Horta, the 1996 Nobel Peace Laureate and the current president of East Timor. His Excellency has spent most of his adult life fighting for the freedom and fighting against oppression for his homeland. He became the youngest person to address the United Nations and convince the UN representative to pass a resolution supporting the independence of Timor-Leste. In 1996, His Excellency, along with his fellow countryman Bishop Pelo, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Largely through His Excellency's efforts, in 2002, Timor-Leste did ultimately win its independence. In 2006, he was appointed the Prime Minister and consequently elected as President in 2007. His Excellency has not only provided a voice to those facing various forms of oppression across the globe, but he has also been a steadfast friend in the vaccine campaign, microcredit and microfinance campaign, and social business, and various other issues of social injustice. And with that, I would request the technical team to please have on screen the keynote address for His Excellency Jose Ramos Horta, President of East Timor.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be at this time. This is Jose Ramos Horta, President of Timor-Leste, speaking from Dili, Timor-Leste. I'm very pleased to be able, even though from distance, to participate in this year Building Sustainable Peace for New Civilization, yet another brilliant initiative of Professor Muhammad Yunus, a hero of the poor all over the world. And with his ever loyal executive director, Lamia Morshed. I would have loved to be joining you, particularly in the company of other international luminaries like Marina Mahathir, Dr. Jane Goodall, Jody Williams, and Shireen Ebadi. However, I had just been elected and started office less than a month ago, and I have obviously numerous on-the-ground priorities that I have to address. But I could not fail to join you in this discussion with a very provocative, thoughtful title, Building Sustainable Peace for the New Civilization. And the theme of Social Business Day 2022 is a very striking, dramatic one, but which reflect the current troubles in the world. Obviously, not only the war in Ukraine, launched by Russia, the tragedy in the Middle East, particularly ongoing war in Syria, over 10 years now, ongoing war in Yemen, in Libya, Afghanistan, and right near me, near us, the tragedy in Myanmar, where a whole nation is hostage of a brutal military regime. On top of it all, we have the never-ending pandemic and the different lockdowns carried out by different governments, as each believed which was the best way to control the pandemic. But in the meantime, hundreds of millions of people, including children, thrown back into extreme poverty. And yet, I have not seen compassion and wisdom on the part of the powers that be, commercial banks around the world, in writing off the debt of the fragile states, of the least developed countries, and other highly indebted developing countries. And the only industry that has not suffered from the pandemic and its economic consequence is the arms industry. Arms industry are very happy with the ongoing war in Ukraine, with the ongoing war in Syria, in Afghanistan, in Yemen, and so on. So it is very timely, the title, Building a New Civilization before the current civilization destroy us. And in fact, the current civilization is already imploding, already destroying us. The problem started hundreds of years ago with the so-called discoveries of Africa, of Asia, in particular of the Americas. The onset of colonialism and onset of slavery that went on for hundreds of years, and the rapacious rip-off of values of people from Asia and the African continent and Latin America. Yes, the sins of history, the sins of ancient civilizations, we are paying now, starting with the first industrial revolution, and today we see this civilization coming to an ugly end, replaced by which I'm afraid, in such a short message, I'm afraid I'm not able to give an answer. But what I can give an answer is there is no other solution but millions of people of goodwill, of beliefs, of principles, to mobilize, to force, compel politicians, governments, the powers that be, the G7, G20, who represent all of us, to adopt policies that would stop climate change, the dramatic developments in climate around the world that we see in the last many years, and the sliding back into poverty of hundreds of millions of people, the increase of child labor and child slavery. In my little island of Timor-Leste, having been elected by the people with a majority over 62%, I pledge to do my best to end child malnutrition, malnutrition in general, extreme poverty, to deepen the oases of tranquility and peace we are living in, but still with a lot of imperfections. I pledge myself to work with my neighbors, in particular Indonesia and others, to make the region a more peaceful and return Myanmar to democracy. At the same time, working with the United Nations and the international community as a whole, adding my feeble voice to the voice of millions around the world, to compel our governments around the world, other governments around the world, the rich and powerful, to change course before we are all brought to the edge of the precipice. And the precipice, the abyss, is very near us. A big warm greetings to all of you in this gathering of social business forum hosted by our friend and mentor, Professor Muhammad Yunus. Thank you.
We deeply appreciate His Excellency Jose Ramos Horta's contribution to this conference. With that in mind, I would like to hand over the floor to Ms. Monica for doing the next set of introductions. Ms. Monica, over to you.
Thank you, Promi, and a warm welcome to you all from the Catholic University of Zimbabwe. It's my pleasure to introduce our Vice Chancellor and Rector, Professor Rangazi Nyemba. We are grateful to Professor Rangazi Nyemba together with Dr. Douglas Munjengi for their background work, which ensured that we became the first Yunus Social Business Center in Africa. Professor Zinyemba's main area of focus at the moment is strategy development and change management, but he is multidisciplinary. He's an educationist. He's been a senior administrator in universities for the last 30 years. Welcome, Professor Zinyemba. He's joining us today from Canada. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Professor.
Oh, thank you very much. Professor Mohammed Yunus, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we at the Catholic University of Zimbabwe are very grateful to be part of the 12th Social Business Day celebration, a co-host institution. Indeed, we celebrate the confluence of business, government, academia, and many other stakeholders focusing on addressing and ensuring steady work towards delivering the Sustainable Development Goals. We have been very privileged as Catholic University of Zimbabwe to have this growing exposure to social business benefiting our students and staff as a Yunus Social Business Center. The 3 zeros concept so ably articulated by Professor Yunus, namely zero poverty, zero unemployment, and zero carbon emissions. That concept is key to us at the Catholic University of Zimbabwe as we work on our Innovation Hub projects to ensure that our students and staff deliver projects that make a difference to people's lives, and that we all take responsibility to address these, our common challenges on planet Earth, our mother environment. We are particularly grateful to have been a Yunus partner in implementing the social business and social fiction design competitions, encouraging our youth to develop solutions to the social problems in our world today. We are grateful for the exposure to the youth and the opportunity to think ahead of our time, to take responsibility of the future. We have learned that willpower is the key resource to addressing many of our challenges, and we are determined to make an impact. Our Social Business Day theme is particularly relevant at this time, building a new civilization before the current civilization destroys us. It is a good time for all of us to reflect on where we are and where we are going, as it will help us make our strategic choices choices that will ensure we contribute to delivering the 3 zeros and ensuring we work steadily to make our contributions to the global target to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. I wish all our stakeholders in this conference success and growth in the next 4 days. And I particularly want to congratulate Professor Yunus on his birthday, which coincides with our sessions, and to wish him well and wish the entire social business world all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. I'd now request Robert to do the next introduction for the keynote.
A warm welcome to the 12th Social Business Day 2022. Now it is my honor and pleasure to welcome Thomas Bach. He is the president of the International Olympic Committee. This is a pre-record speech, and I request the technical team to play the video.
Distinguished Professor Muhammad Yunus, my dear friend, dear participants of Social Business Day, I cannot remember a time when the world was facing so many truly existential crises simultaneously. At the IOC, we share your sense of urgency in calling for impactful societal change on this Social Business Day. This is why two-time Olympic medalist, IOC member Paul Tergat, will be with you and represent the IOC during this important event. Unfortunately, conflicts and wars are on the rise. The global pandemic is still very much a reality around the globe. The climate crisis continues to be a global challenge. A new world order is emerging. A new world order that will be more divisive than the one we know. Today, all of us must prepare for this new world order. Together with all of you, the IOC is ready to shape this future with our shared Olympic values. This is why our Olympic Agenda 2020+5 is focused on strengthening the role of sport as an important enabler for the UN Sustainable Development Goals. As an organization dedicated to making the world a better place through sport, the role of the Olympic community is clear. In these difficult times, we need our Olympic mission to promote peace and solidarity more than ever. Solidarity is at the heart of the Olympic Games, which unite the entire world in all its diversity. Solidarity is also at the core of social business. This wonderful concept, pioneered for many decades by my very dear friend, Professor Muhammad Yunus. In everything you have done, dear friend, you have always challenged conventional thinking, always pushing for more inclusion, for more social progress, for more solidarity. Never has this been more urgent than today. We in the Olympic community have a lot in common with social business. Like social business, sport is inclusive. It brings out the best in us and benefits people directly. This explains why we have joined hands with Professor Yunus to bring the transformational power of social business and of sport together. We have collaborated with the Imagine Peace Youth Camp and the Athletes 365 Business Accelerator, the first entrepreneurship program to help Olympians with career transition. In recognition of Professor Yunus' extensive work in sport for development, the IOC awarded him the Olympic Laurel, the highest distinction for people outside the Olympic movement. This Olympic Laurel is only awarded every 4 years, and Professor Yunus received it on the occasion of the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 in front of a global audience of billions of people. From all these actions, we have learned that we can only go faster, we can only aim higher, we can only become stronger if we stand together in solidarity. This is the reason for which we recently amended our Olympic motto to faster, higher, stronger, together. This word together tells us we need more solidarity within societies and more solidarity among societies. Because without solidarity, there is no peace. This is why I'm extending the hand of the Olympic movement to all of you on this Social Business Day, to work together for a better world. In this Olympic spirit, I wish you fruitful discussions, and I look forward to hearing the outcomes of this Social Business Day. All the very best to all of you.
My sincerest gratitude to Mr. Thomas Bach for his address. I would request Ms. Lamia Hafiz now to do the next set of introductions, please.
Thank you so much for sharing this honor. It is my immense pleasure to introduce the address of Ms. Armida Salsaya Alishabana, Under Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Secretary of UN-ESCAP. Ms. Armida Salsaya Alishabana, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, took office on November 2018. Ms. Alishabana was Professor of Economics at Universitas Padjadjaran and was Minister of National Development Planning and the Head of National Development Planning Agency, Indonesia from 2009 to 2014. In 2016, Ms. Alishabana was a member of the high-level independent team of advisors to support the ECOSOC dialogue on the longer-term positioning of the United Nations for the 2030 agenda. We will now play the recorded address.
Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be invited to deliver opening remarks at Social Business Day 2022. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Professor Muhammad Yunus for his continued and long-standing leadership, commitment, and action on this very important agenda. Business has been a source of innovation and economic dynamism. However, this has often been to the detriment of the environment and society, with CO2 emissions increasing in step with the Industrial Revolution and growing inequalities in income. In addition, the pandemic has quickly turned into a story of the haves and the not-haves. The pandemic has had a disproportionate impact on the most vulnerable. People at the base of the economic pyramid have suffered the most, unable to access and afford essential goods and services, and unable to make a living. The pandemic also revealed a fractured economy, one in dire need of innovation, which makes the theme of this event so important and timely. Building a new economic framework must be a priority if we are to build back better from the pandemic, meet the ambition of the Sustainable Development Goals, and fulfill the promise to leave no one behind. To this, we need a shift from business as usual to social and inclusive business. Our work on this agenda has focused on supporting governments to create an environment to support, enable, and incentivize businesses to focus on people and planet alongside profit. At the national level, from the Thailand Social Enterprise Act to the Vietnam 2022-2025 Program on Support for Private Enterprises in Sustainable Business, ESCAP has supported governments in promoting businesses that consider both profit and purpose. And at the regional level, in partnership with the ASEAN Secretariat, the economic ministers of ASEAN member states adopted the guidelines for promoting inclusive businesses in ASEAN, making the bloc the first in the world to adopt such a framework. In addition, an equitable post-pandemic economic framework must have women at its heart. Advancing women's equality in the Asia-Pacific region could add as much as $4.5 trillion, a 12% increase to the region's GDP annually by 2025. With the economic slump that countries now face, none can afford to continue to miss out on this largely untapped dividend. Supporting women-led businesses must be a policy priority. Our work at ESCAP has focused on this through partnering with governments to integrate gender perspective into policies, such as with the Bangladesh Startup Framework, the Cambodia SME Policy, and the Fiji Financial Inclusion Strategy. Let me conclude by saying that we stand ready to work with you all. Only together can we enable the innovations in business needed to support, incentivize, and enable enterprises to go beyond the economic imperative to include social and environmental objectives. I wish you all a very successful, productive, and action-oriented event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We deeply appreciate this message. I would like to return the floor to Mrs. Siddiqui.
Thank you very much, Lamia. I'd like to request Robert to do the next introductions, please.
Thank you. Our next keynote speech is from a formidable figure, actor, and a key catalyst in the social business, and has been active in the last 10 years. He is also the founder and CEO of the Grameen Creative Lab. Please help me welcome Hans Reis.
Hello, Robert, and hello, everyone. It's a real happy time to come together. You know, the Social Business Day now in 12 times to be together with the whole family and see everyone from the bigger global Gushti becomes every year and year a little bit bolder. And I'm really curious for the more than 20 panels what Yunus Center set up, and many new players are coming, many new kids on the block will present now their great achievement in social business. And in this way, I have to say, if we do it now 12 years, role in a role, year by year, normally we come together in Dhaka, normally we will be together at the role models of women empowerment, the role models of how to change our system on the Grameen family. So sadly, still, this is a compromise, but a good compromise and the best what we can do to join us globally together. But what's the differences here? And there is a big difference. And I would say all what we have to focus today on is peace. Peace and peace and peace again. The word peace becomes somehow like a real urgent necessary. It's peace in our side, it's peace on the business side, it's peace between everyone who are in the global citizenship. You know, when Professor Yunus chose the new theme to say this event will resolve around the whole world one theme, building a new civilization before the current civilization destroy us. It is destroying us very heavily on the fight between Ukraine and Russia, on the fight between, on the tensions between China and the States, on the tension between India and Pakistan, on the tension between Israel and many other countries. So this is really a time when we should have peace in the focus. And who are the peacemakers? And I totally believe social business is a peacemaking process. So I please you, work with more joy than ever before, work more peaceful than ever before. Let all our beautiful social business grow and grow and grow. And let's do it with joy, because we all have to think why we are as we are, and do we have a future, and how we have a future. And definitely not in the old way. So the new way the inspirational day of the Vai Vai Gushti in Bangladesh, of the Grameen family, of the Yunus family. You are a really global role model. Our biggest thanks from Germany to you, what you did, and you guide us. This is really human leadership. I'm looking now forward to listen to all of you and to your joyful work. And in this way, keep it Vai Vai and do it with joy. Bye bye, Hans, from the Grameen Creative Lab and the whole team.
Thank you, Hans. Now I hand it over to my co-host, Monica, to introduce the other keynote speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. It is my pleasure to introduce now Jody Williams, 1997 Nobel Peace Laureate winner. She was the third woman in the world and third in America, I beg your pardon, and 10th in the world to receive a Nobel Peace Prize for her work in the international campaign to ban landmines. We're going to listen to a recorded message. Thank you.
Hello from the great state of Vermont in the United States. Maybe next year I'll be with you in person. I hope so. The issue before us is, how do we create enduring peace in a world in crisis? I think a lot of us tend to focus on the crises themselves instead of thinking about what each of us can do to make the world a better place for everybody. It's not that difficult. First of all, for me, we have to be able to envision the world in which we want to live. If we don't have a vision of enduring peace, if we don't have a vision that peace is more than the absence of warfare, if we don't have a vision in which every sector of society contributes in its own way to the betterment of all human beings and life on this planet, we'll never get there. So we have to start thinking about what peace means and how we achieve it. Peace is not the absence of warfare, as I've said. Peace includes the freedom from war. It includes the ability to have housing, access to effective medical care, access to education for people of all ages. It means dealing with the grotesque disbalance of incomes on this planet, where a handful of billionaires have more money than, subcontinents combined. There is clearly something wrong in that. There's clearly something wrong in continuing to try to extract fossil fuels from the ground when they cause the planet to nearly collapse. We cannot just think about now. We have to think about now and how we move forward. Businesses have to stop thinking that the most important thing they can do is make money. Businesses should be a sector of society that contributes to the greater good. Fossil fuel industry should stop extracting those fuels and put serious money and dedication into sustainable energy sources that do not destroy life on this planet. We can no longer keep on building new weapons of war. We now are facing again the possibility of nuclear weapons use. I grew up during the Cold War. I grew up learning how to curl up in a ball under my desk in elementary school to save me from a direct hit of a nuclear weapon. That is pure insanity. And we are seeing that again now with Mr. Putin's invasion of the Ukraine, as well as his willingness to threaten the entire world with the use of tactical nuclear weapons. What are tactical nuclear weapons? A nuclear weapon destroys everything it hits. It cannot discriminate between soldiers and civilians. Simply by talking about the use of tactical nuclear weapons, Putin has put it in the vernacular. We are actually hearing different countries talk about tactical nukes. Talking about nuclear weapons used to be a taboo, unless we were talking about how to get rid of them. For sustainable peace, we need to shift the focus from $2 trillion a year for weapons and war to using that money for the betterment of society and our planet. We are all capable of helping do that. But we can only do that if we recognize that we have a role to play in changing our world. Sitting back and hoping that somebody else will solve the problem is not a strategy for change. The only way we bring about change is to act for change. And we have to act for the greater good, which means wanting everybody to benefit from changes in our planet, not just the people we like. If we're only thinking about the people we like, I consider that to be a political party. We need to think about what we can do for sustainability for all life on this planet, including people we do not like. And I say that because those who know me well know that there are people I don't like. I'm a normal human being. However, I want them to be able to live in a world in which we all benefit, in a world in which we care about each other and don't try to beat each other into accepting our view of the world. It can be done. We all can do it. And we have to work together to bring it about. As I said before, and I'll always say, worrying about the problems of the world will not change them. It'll only give you high blood pressure. What we need to do is join with others and work together in common strategy to change the challenges facing us in this world and make it better for everyone. Thank you. Hello from the great state.
Our deepest appreciation to Ms. Jody Williams for her address. Robert, over to you for the next introduction, please.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Mohamed Bezamihigo, the Vice Chancellor, Kampala International University. Welcome, Dr. Mohamed.
Thank you so much. First of all, let me appreciate His Excellency, distinguished scholar, the godfather of this big movement that is for humanity. Professor Yunus Muhammad, we wish you all the best and also long life, plus your team. I also want to thank my colleagues who are attending in big numbers at Kampala International University. I want to thank you for your attendance. To put my voice to what is already happening, indeed, this is a very timely topic for discussion. We should be able to evolve a civilization that is going to be more sustainable, more climate friendly, taking care of the largest percentage of the population. As we know, like for the African continent itself, about 70% of the population is below 30%, 30 years of age. Now that is a very serious and a very big threat if we do not take care of the climate issues, issues that affect their livelihood and prospects of the future. There's nothing as dangerous as having a group of youth who seem not to be clear about their future. And to me, as the Vice Chancellor of Kampala International University and one of the most recent UNUS social business centers, for which we are indeed grateful, where we have now been able to operationalize at least one of the pillars of skilling the youth through a YY Foundation project, for which we are very, very grateful. This project is one of the many projects we hope are going to come out to address issues that affect the largest stakeholders of the population, and these are the youth. Youth unemployment mixed with challenges and dangers, and scares and threats of climate change can actually explode into something that is not manageable. We need to understand the key things that affect our youth. The health must be taken care of, their livelihood must be taken care of, and of course, in the context of climate change and the huge economic imbalance that has befallen this world. As my colleagues speakers have just said, if you look at the statistics and the gap that stands between the very rich and the very poor is unimaginable. Something has to be done. And I think as an institution of repute, an international university, working together through the UNUS Social Business Center and being able to participate in this 12th Social Business Day globally is an indication that we promise our commitment, and we also want to pledge that we will continue to participate. And I call upon the staff and the students of our great university, Kampala International University, through networks to collaborate. I just attended the European Development Days in Brussels. The amazing thing is that everybody else is scared about climate change. Unfortunately, in the African continent, we still remain so insensitive. I want anybody who travels Europe, especially a few countries, Netherlands, Belgium, and the Nordic countries, you will notice how they are so sensitive about survival of Earth. The issues of waste management and recycle, use of water. I mean, you stay in a hotel, if you allow them not to come and change your linen, you earn a voucher which you can spend on in the restaurant and save money. So the whole notion of our youth understanding the idea is a personal responsibility. So I call upon everybody to understand. Last but not least, we can only do this through collaborations and partnerships. I am a champion of supporting what we call the reverse linkage principle, in which those who have do not look at those who do not have as meaningless, but with potential to contribute something. The ideas alone can actually engineer social change. And through our UNUS Social Business Center, we hope that we will engage our students, we will engage the community, we will be able to bring together all the local leaders to understand the need to harness what is within their means to be able to help themselves and also help the others. I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I look forward towards a very successful 4 days of celebrating the Social Business Days, and want to say on behalf of Kampala International University, we will still stand with you. And congratulations, Professor Yunus Mohammed and the team, Lamia and everybody who has put together this event. And thank you so much. Let's remain in touch. KIU is there to advance social business for the good of humanity, for the involvement of a new civilization that will create a fair and just world for all of us to survive. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed, and the entire Kampala International University for joining the growing network of YSPCs. Now, I want to pass the mic to my colleague, Prometheus, to introduce the next guest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert. And again, thank you very much to Kampala International University for their continued support. Again, it gives me great honor and privilege and extremely humbled to the next introduction, which is of Dr. Jane Goodall, DBE, and the founder of the Jane Goodall Institute. Dr. Goodall is a UN messenger of peace and is a world-renowned ethologist and an activist who's been inspiring greater understanding and action on behalf of the natural world. She's known for her groundbreaking studies of wild chimpanzees in the Gombe Stream National Park in Tanzania, which has forever changed our understanding of our relationship with the rest of the animal kingdom. This transformative research by Dr. Goodall continues today as one of the world's longest-running wild chimpanzee studies. In 2021, Dr. Goodall was the recipient of the Templeton Prize. And with that, further ado, I request the tech team to please play the recorded message.
Hello, everyone. I'm so pleased to have the opportunity of sharing a few thoughts with you at this important conference. Right now, the world's environment is facing the twin threats of climate change and loss of biodiversity. And the sad thing is, we brought this on ourselves by our disrespect of the environment and animals, and the crazy idea there can be unlimited economic development on a planet with finite natural resources. So long as businesses and governments value short-term gain over protecting the environment for the future, we shall go on exploiting finite natural resources. Forests and other ecosystems are disappearing across the globe. Oceans are polluted and overfished. More and more animals and plants are becoming extinct, and intensive farming is killing the soil through its use of chemical pesticides and herbicides. I could go on with this list of things we've done and are doing to harm the environment, but it's more important to talk about what we can do about it. First, though, we must realize that we are part of the natural world, and we depend on it for fresh air, water, food, well, everything. But it's healthy ecosystems on which we depend. I learned about the interconnectedness of the plants and animals and trees in the forest ecosystem when I was studying chimps in Gombe National Park. Each species has a role to play in the complex web of life, and as more species become extinct, the web becomes tattered, and the ecosystem may collapse, and this, of course, is harmful for us. So, what must we do? It's very important to alleviate poverty, for the very poor will destroy their environment in their effort to survive. In an urban area, the poor will buy the cheapest food. They don't have the luxury of asking if its production harmed the environment or is cheap because of unfair wages. Then we must fight ignorance and ensure that people understand the importance of a healthy environment, and that the health of people, animals, and the environment is inextricably linked. We must reduce the unsustainable lifestyle of the wealthy, because it makes unsustainable demands on our dwindling natural resources, and at the same time populations of people and livestock are growing. We must think about family size. There are close to 7 billion of us on the planet now, and already we're using up natural resources in some places faster than nature can replenish them. What will happen if, as predicted, there'll be closer to 10 billion of us in 2050, and especially if our livestock numbers are also increasing? Then we must find ways to combat global corruption. So much harm is done when authorities turn a blind eye to illegal operations such as the highly profitable wildlife trade, poaching, illegal logging, and so on, either because they're themselves involved or because they're afraid to arrest the politically powerful people who are so often behind such illegal operations. The Jane Goodall Institute, JGI, Tanzania, addresses all of these in our Tukari and Roots and Shoots programs. Tukari is a community-led program that began in 1994 when a carefully selected team of local Tanzanians went into the villages around Gombe and asked how could we help them. Tukari now involves restoring fertility to overused farmland, water management projects, providing scholarships for girls to give them a chance at secondary education, because it's been shown all around the world that as women's education improves, family size tends to drop. We provide family planning information and microfinance opportunities based on the Grameen Bank that enable people to start their own small, environmentally sustainable businesses. Tukari is operating in 104 villages throughout Chimp Range and in 6 other African countries. Once people realize that protecting the environment is not just for wildlife but their own future, they become our partners in conservation. There are no more bare hills around Gombe, for the forest is returning. The people were cutting down the trees simply to get more land, to grow more food, or to make money from timber or charcoal. Then there's Roots and Shoots, JDI's humanitarian and environmental program to educate and empower young people. I started it 30 years ago with 12 high school students in Dar es Salaam. It's now in 65 countries, with members from kindergarten through university and more adults forming groups. And all of these groups choose projects to improve things for people, animals, and the environment. Today, there are groups in all districts of Tanzania and hundreds of thousands around the world. Many individuals are already in leadership positions, and they've retained the values of Roots and Shoots, especially respect for each other, respect for the environment, respect for animals. And let me add here that science has proved that animals, both wild and domestic, just like us, have personalities, minds, and emotions. Like us, they can feel fear, despair, and pain. Roots and Shoots grows as we form partnerships with other organizations that have a similar mission. It's the young people who are my greatest reason for hope, along with our amazing intellect and the resilience of nature. I hope this meeting has inspired all who attended, and I'm sure that the new Yunus Center's East Africa Social Business Project will be a great success. Goodbye now. Hello.
Wonderful. What an incredibly inspiring message from Dr. Goodall. And I'm quite certain that there's a lot to be taken away from it, and effectively the call to action that she's inspired us to go down. Again, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the next speaker, a leader, a staunch supporter, and effectively one of the greatest catalysts and supporters of the social business movement over the last decade. Saskia Broystein, the co-founder and CEO of Yunus Social Business. Saskia co-founded the YSB together with Nobel Peace Prize laureate Professor Mohammed Yunus a decade ago. Together with the World Economic Forum, Saskia co-initiated the COVID Alliance for Social Entrepreneurs. She's been appointed to the European Union Commission's expert group on social business and has advised the former Secretary General of the UN, Ban Ki-moon, under the UN MDG advocacy group, and as well as Richard Branson's pre-team. Prior to YSB, Saskia was the co-CEO of the Grameen Creative Lab and a management consultant with the Boston Consulting Group in Munich and New York. Saskia embodies one of the key principles of social business, which is joyful excellence. And with that, it gives me great pleasure to hand it over to you, Sas. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Promi. I'm blushing over here by this introduction. Thanks so much. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you today. I can't believe that we're all here together again 1 year later, and so much has happened again. But of course, it also just happened very quickly this last year. I'm actually not going to say happy birthday, because for those of you who may not be aware, actually tomorrow is Professor Yunus's birthday, and that was the original reason why we, back in the day, also with Hans and others, and Lamia and Professor Yunus, came up with the idea of actually celebrating this day. Now it has become obviously a global conference that's happening every year. in any case, in my country, Germany, you don't say happy birthday the day before. So I'll wait until tomorrow, and then we can all celebrate together. Obviously, Promi has said I'm optimistic and positive, and that's definitely true. But at the same time, I have to say we are living through quite tragic times these days. I mean, obviously, everyone knows about the COVID crisis, and that has been the main thing for us now in the last year. But of course, now with the Ukraine war starting earlier this year, it has been, yeah, for me, quite a significant downer, and not just for me, but of course, this is a global topic. You know, the world is still reeling from COVID, and now we are ending up in the next crisis. For me, particularly as a European, I'm half German, half Canadian, seeing a war happen on my continent again is of course heartbreaking, but mainly actually understanding that this is a war that is not just relevant for Europe, but sadly is unfortunately having repercussions all around the world. That's what's really shocking. I was just in East Africa 2 weeks back, and I'm happy to share later on in my remarks actually a concrete example how this is affecting real people. And it's not just, you know, we talk about these like abstract things of inflation, but how is it actually affecting real people, and what is the role in social business in this, and actually helping real people get through the effects of this terrible war? For me, obviously, what has been going on is, however, a major threat to our liberal values, and social business is obviously one of the tools that we see as a, let's say, an implementer of the liberal values, the values that are about democracy, around human rights, around, you know, the respect for the individual. And social business is, for me, sort of the practical embodiment of all of these values. And that's really what's at stake right now, and the way the world is developing. So maybe I can just share very briefly the example that I experienced a couple of weeks ago when I was in East Africa. I was in a remote village outside of Uganda, and I know obviously many of you in the room are also from East Africa, or even west from various sub-Saharan African countries. So I was in a town called Soroti, which is at the east side of Uganda, and we visited an individual entrepreneur there that is a farming entrepreneur, and he basically has 2 acres of land that he is working on with his family of 8. And so he basically makes something around about, let's say, $1,000 a year in terms of his income. And we were chatting with him, and one of the things that he was saying is that the fertilizer prices have gone up significantly due to the war in the Ukraine. I mean, he didn't say that it's because of the war in the Ukraine, but he said that over the last few weeks it has gone up significantly, which meant that he could actually not fertilize his crop, which meant he had less yield, which of course is a major issue, firstly. And second of all, he said, you know, when product is actually ready to bring it to market, to ship it to Kampala, and to thereby and take the next step, in theory, he couldn't be able to actually deliver it, because not just the fertilizer prices have gone up due to the war in the Ukraine, but also, of course, the energy prices have gone up. So actually cost of transportation has gone up so significantly that he wouldn't be able to transport it. That's the problem of this farmer, and actually thousands of smallholder farmers across the region. Luckily, in this particular case, he's working with one of our social businesses in our portfolio called Achila Enterprises, who's actually providing fertilizer and inputs at an affordable price, and actually also ensuring that the product is actually picked up at the farm gate and actually brought to Kampala. So they take up some of that negative impact of the price increase. But of course, this is not true for many thousands of other smallholder farmers. So what I want to say is, like, we have a global issue, and social business yet again can provide a solution also to this. And if we manage to ensure that, let's say, these global economic topics do not have such a hard impact on the people that are affected the most, namely the poor, then we can really make a difference. So that's why social business, for me, still to this day, is such a powerful tool that is very concrete, and that can help us make sense of these global crises that sometimes we just ask ourselves, what on earth am I as an individual going to do about? So So that's why I wanted to mention this, this particular example. But let me give you just a very quick overview of our work in general at UNOS Social Business. Obviously, this year is a very, very special year for us because we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary of UNOS Social Business. We actually just celebrated it officially with a global event that happened a couple of weeks ago in Berlin. Professor Yunus was there and graced us with his presence. So it was really lovely to have you there, Professor Yunus. And we had around about 150 people online and another 150 people in the room. And we talked about how do we design the next decade? How do we really move forward from what we've achieved so far? To summarize again what we stand for at UNOS Social Business, we have two arms. On the one hand, we finance and support social businesses. So we actually provide them with long-term loans between $100,000 and $500,000, and we also provide them with growth support. Our current portfolio of around about 60 companies has actually impacted 17 million people. So it has had actually provided essential products or services such as green energy, healthcare, education, etc., to over 17 million people in the various regions that we're active in. So East Africa, India, and Latin America. And it has actually also created higher incomes for 1.3 million people. So like the smallholder farmer that I just mentioned, 1.3 million people through this small social business portfolio of 60 companies have had a higher income and have been able to support their livelihoods. So this is what we've been able to do now over the last 10 years. And what we realize now is we feel that obviously Professor Yunus and the whole Grameen family have proven that social business works in Bangladesh and it works at scale. But we need to make sure that this can also happen around the world and that it also has been proven around the world. We feel now through our activities and of course also the activities of many of you here in the room, we have been able to prove over the last decade that social business works everywhere. But now we're at the point where we feel we need to scale this up. And that's really what our mission is now at YSB for the next decade, to scale this up significantly. For that, we obviously continue to support our early stage companies with financing and also support. But we also have now decided to create a new facility, which we call Impact Investing as a Service, where we help large foundations and high net worth individuals to deploy their capital to social businesses, and we do it on their behalf. So we've started this year a facility focusing on wash and waste related social businesses. So if you have any wash and waste related social businesses that are in the scale up mode, send them over to us. We have a similar facility with a focus of job creation, and we're planning to next year launch another fund focused on food and agriculture, to be able to finance many more food and agriculture businesses like the ones I mentioned earlier. I also want to mention one other thing. As you know, we don't only just invest ourselves, but we also work with large corporations. And we launched a report a couple of weeks ago at the World Economic Forum on the whole topic of social procurement, which is when corporations buy from social businesses. And the case that we made in a study together with BCG, so the Boston Consulting Group, the World Economic Forum, and also SAP, is that corporations are spending trillions of dollars on buying stuff, water bottles, paper, IT outsourcing services. We made the case that why don't you just have a small percentage, maybe it's 5%, maybe it's 1%, depending on your company, that you buy from social businesses. It's doable. There are corporate ready social businesses out there, and we'll help you in that process to actually finding them. So that's another initiative that we've been working on, and where actually for those of you who are interested, there's a session tomorrow on Tuesday morning, European time, I think it's around about 11, where our team led by Monica Frech, who's our MD on the corporate side, and Lucy Durant, who's actually our focus area expert on the whole topic of social procurement, will be presenting. I know I'm running out of time, so I'll shut up now, but it was a pleasure to speak to all of you. We obviously have a lot of work to do still. Let's work on scaling social businesses up And so, yeah, we can create even more impact in the world and actually reinforce the liberal values that we all care about through a new type of a business model and a new type of a civilization. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Sas. Greatly appreciate this. Robert, over to you for the introduction of Professor Waspa.
Thank you, Prometheus. Now it is my pleasure to welcome Professor Waspa Bulunyo. He's the principal Makerere University Business School. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much, Robert. A very good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all people on this call. I'd like to pay special tribute to our friend, Professor Muhammad Yunus. Tomorrow is your birthday. We shall celebrate the birthday tomorrow. And we want to thank you for the 2 visits you made to our institution several years back. We have those memories of the visits and the various people interacted with. Whenever the women you met meet me, they ask, when is he coming back? So I hope one day you'll be back. Regarding our activities at the school, because of COVID, we have not done much because Uganda had the longest lockdown for education institutions. We literally closed for 3 years, and we are firefighting to try and get our semesters back. We are just starting the semester, which ordinarily we would start in January. We're starting it now and hoping to catch up. We've cut the semesters short. So we've not really had many activities going on. However, of course, we have had training in social business to a variety of young people, and we have encouraged young people to come here on social business. Yes, they are doing this, and we hope that at some stage we want to incubate social business ideas as part of our incubation in the business school. The 3 zeros, I think, are really the new thinking is something that's very important. Many people have been saying it is Africa's time, and I must say Africa will not get out of its poverty conditions unless if there is a change in the concept of business and possibly more embracing of the concept of social business. The rate of unemployment, in African countries is too high. Poverty in our midst is increasing day by day. And of course, we have a big problem of climate change. We do not, we do not emit as much carbon into the air as the developed countries do, but our disposal of plastic bottles and plastic and polythene bags is of real concern. And the business school has made it its business to try and make this its agenda. So on the 3 zeros, this is something we're talking about as an institution. We hope that we will have more people joining us to think about this. On the issue of poverty, this is where we must have the new thinking. This is where a new model of growth needs to be adopted. I think hoping that African countries can compete with Western countries, with multinationals, will not happen. That will not happen. And we've seen, for instance, we grow coffee here, and the farmer earns $1 out of the coffee, a kilo out of the coffee. But the final person who is marketing this earns about $30 out of that kilo of coffee. This must change and cannot change given the current model of business growth globally. So I think this new thinking of how do we get African countries, how do we get Uganda to grow, must have a new business model. And I think that this new thinking, we must thank Professor Muhammad Yunus for bringing up this new idea that we definitely must think afresh if we are going to see change in our countries. Poverty is very much around as long as there's no level playing ground for business in our countries. We hope that this can be furthered, this can be talked about much more, and we hope that through our social business ideas, we should be able to bring this concept on board. The fact that somebody can start a business and train and employ as many young people as possible, not with a view of making a profit, but with a view of creating employment. This is one way in which to create more jobs is on the table. But what kind of business are we talking about? What kind of people are we talking about? If the whole idea is about profit, definitely, yes, profit is good, the source of growth, source of new ideas, but it will not solve the problems of African countries. We hope to do more in terms of research to understand the business models existing globally, and I believe that social business is one of the firm issues that are coming up on the table to be able to solve our problems in Uganda and indeed in Africa. We would like to pay tribute to the organizer and everybody on this call. Thank you so much. It's an exciting thing to listen to the various speakers, and we hope that in the coming years after COVID, we should be able to farm up our unit center and be able to farm up our activities on incubation in business for social business in this institution. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much, Professor Waswa. Over to you, Monica, for the last greeting message.
Thank you, Promi. It is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Winnie Byanyima, Executive Director of UNAIDS. She's also an Under-Secretary General of the United Nations. She's known for her passion and being a long-standing champion of social justice and gender equality. She leads the UN efforts to end the AIDS pandemic by 2030, and she believes in healthcare as a human right. And we also acknowledge her as an early champion of a people's vaccine against the coronavirus. She wanted a people's vaccine that is freely available to everyone everywhere. We'll listen to a recorded message. Thank you.
Happy 82nd birthday, Professor Muhammad Yunus. It's a great honor to work with you to challenge the inequalities that drive pandemics, such as COVID-19 and HIV/AIDS. You are an inspiration in challenging the monopolies that have denied access to vaccines, life-saving vaccines, that could have saved all the people in the world and kept our global economy running. Keep fighting. We're right behind you, and it's such an honor to work with you. Bye-bye. Happy 82nd birthday.
Our sincerest appreciation to the Executive Director of UNAIDS. It's actually the moment now we've all been waiting for. We've all heard for the greetings and the keynotes for the opening session. Now the opening remarks. As I said, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. Our next speaker is one of the most influential figures of this century and the last one. The affection, admiration, and replication of his work has transcended race, cultures, and national boundaries. From head of states to CEO of large global corporates, from social change makers to artists. The simplicity yet profound impact of his philosophy has helped rewrite modern history of how humans can make this world a better place. He is one of only 7 individuals who have received the Nobel Peace Prize, the United States Presidential Medal of Freedom, and the United States Congressional Gold Medal. I have the utmost privilege of once again introducing Nobel Peace Laureate, founder of Grameen Bank, and chairman of Yunus Center, Professor Muhammad Yunus. Over to you, sir. Sir, you may have to unmute, please.
Now I can.
There you go, sir. We can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay. I was just saying that how much I'm touched by the people speaking from their heart and gathering here on this occasion, the 12th Social Business Day. When we began 12 years back, we had no idea that it will continue every year. It was just a gathering of friends after a year saying what we're doing, what have been done. It's a reporting time for each other, listening time, and getting excited about things, getting depressed about things that didn't happen. That's what the beginning of the idea of the Social Business Day. Then we repeated it next year, and we didn't realize that we'll come to all the way to 12th one. Today is the 12th one, and I'm very happy to be with all of you together. This is also, I try to remind ourselves that this is basically a family gathering. It's not something that we bring people from outside and listening to them to see what they are thinking. It's more or less we are all the family members who are attached to each other, doing things in our own way, and how we are doing, what kind of things that we're looking forward to. So as a family gathering, it's an exciting time and looking at each other. We used to have it in a physical way. We never thought we'll ever have it something virtual. It's always thought that it will be physical, either in Dhaka or it's in Munich or it's in Kuala Lumpur or wherever we found a way. But it was a physical one. Today, third year of pandemic, we couldn't dare to think about a physical one. But even though we could not dare to think about a physical one, there are some daring people too. These are the universities in Africa, in Benin, in Uganda, in Kenya, in Central African Republic, in Zimbabwe. They decided with the Tangaza University, Makerere University, Obama Karabi University, and so on. They decided they will go physical. And I want to applaud, I want you to applaud them, give them a big applause for having this physical meeting today, upholding the tradition that we had. We are always a physical one, and this makes us very close to you. And I'm very grateful to you to keep that tradition alive, to have a physical meeting in all your campuses. And I send my greetings, and I owe you my visit, as you mentioned, from Uganda, the Makerere University, that I should be there and visiting you. And all these 6 universities that we have been who have been organizing this physical gathering during all these 4 days. It's not easy job. It's quite a complicated job, connecting the physical one with the virtual one, make it a global one. As Lamia was mentioning, there are 66 countries participating in that. That's a fantastic thing. We had no idea when we started 12 years back that it will be 66 countries gathering together and discussing things, sharing things as a family. I want to thank you with a big applause for all of you, particularly all the physical campuses who are holding this 4 days of gathering. And we will learn a lot from your physical meetings, and also will continue to share with you in a virtual way globally, so we know what's happening in your campuses and tie you up with the whole thing. So this is a family gathering and I saw the old friends coming back again, talking about what they have been doing, inspired by the social business idea, bitten by the bug, as they call it. It's bitten by the bug, and now continue to pursue that, where we want to go. So the family gathering, we want to see, exchange our thoughts, exchange our experiences, and see what stage we are in. Are we feeling frustrated? Are we feeling excited? Are we... On this particular occasion, one thing that I should share with you is a very depressing time because of the circumstances that we are in right now. When pandemic came, we thought this is an addition to whatever terrible things happening to the world, and pandemic makes it worse, and worse in a big way. And we heard and we learned how large number of people moved from above the poverty line to below the poverty line in a massive way. And that was a shocking thing. It took ages for them to come out of the poverty line and move above. And one pandemic pushed them down right away. And the whole world kind of kept watching what is happening, what's the way out from this particular situation. So that was a very depressing situation, and we thought we'll find a way someday to get out of it. Today, this third year, still we have not found a way to get out of it, the pandemic thing. And many countries, including Bangladesh, is now rising again. It goes down and it rises again. So we don't know how long these waves will come and go back and rise again. But that's something on the health side. But on the economic side, people lost their job, lost their income, lost their housing, and that's where we are on the pandemic side. And then came the war, Ukrainian war. Ukrainian war globally again hit the poverty, people under poverty very hard. With the inflation, with the price level rising, with the income disappearing, job disappearing, and so on. So again, the whole thrust is on the bottom people. And we created a whole system where wealth is concentrated at the top. All the wealth goes up in the top. And the bottom is always empty, very slight touch of a little bit of wealth spread around millions and billions of people. So that's where now all the problem comes with the pandemic. So with the pandemic and the war, and already the terrible things happening to the world with the global warming, etc. So this has a kind of terrifying convergence. So this is the moment of terrifying convergence of all these terrible things happening to the world. And we don't know whether we have escape route. And when we don't see an escape route, we kept talking about something that we imagine that we must happen, it must take place. We cannot get away from that. So in the moment we are having this Social Business Day celebrations, we are at the same time at the terrifying moments that the world is going through. When we put the title that Building a New Civilization, we didn't realize that it would be such a terrifying thing happening at this time. But today, no escape route at all, except for creating a new civilization. So it is now a responsibility for us to survive. Only escape route is to create a new civilization and go in a different way. Why we have to do this? We have discussed this many times. We continue to discuss during the sessions which will be coming up. And this will be a symbolic thing will happen. The pandemic thing will come back again and again, because the pandemic kind of revealed the character of the society and the civilization that we built. And in this civilization today, I can say vaccine has become a real symbol of this civilization. All the things that went wrong, that we thought wrong, we did wrong, was a simple thing about the vaccine. And we were kind of guessing the turn of the events will happen as we go on. We are campaigning even before the vaccine was already invented, already in the process of production. Before it happened, we are saying that whenever it happens, this was in June of 2020, we are saying that whenever vaccine comes, vaccine should be made as a common good. And we are giving examples of polio vaccine, how it was declared as a common good, as a people's vaccines, and so on and so forth. Wrote appeals and made appeals to all the leaders of the world to make this vaccine as a patent-free vaccine. But that didn't happen. Nobody paid any attention despite all our appeal. Our appeal was, if you make it a patent-free, then it can be produced everywhere. People have a chance to have that. Instead of that scenario, we got the alternative scenario. We got the vaccine, we got the patent stamped, every one of them, so that nobody can touch it, nobody can do anything about it. And we hiked the price as high as you can get. Guess what happened? You know already what happened. 10 lucky countries, 10 countries, the richest countries in the world, monopolized all the vaccines. And these lucky countries are the countries where 99% of the wealth belongs to. So they are the one who, the wealth is there and their vaccines is there. They command the vaccines because vaccine is sold to the highest bidder. So highest bidder got it. They bought more than they needed, several times more than they needed. While other countries, rest of the world, minus 10 countries, suffered because they have no access. That situation has not changed. The idea, and this was encapsulated, this will go in history, this word, the vaccine apartheid is a symbol of what we have, what the civilization that we built, how wrong it was. And the vaccine apartheid continued and people died. So people versus life, this life versus profit, this is what the situation emerged. So this is the path that we are traveling from, moving into. And that's the time that we are saying that this civilization is out. This civilization cannot continue. This civilization has taken away the human elements from human beings. Human values are no longer considered as a part of human being in the economic structure that we built. Only thing they understand is the language of profit. No consideration of human values, human expectations, human directions of life, and so on. So this is where we are standing right now. So this Social Business Day is important because we are right in the middle of this particular moment, what we need to do. And one side, the symbol, vaccine, and the kind of world that we have built, and then we want to get away. We want to create a new world where we'll bring human values back. That's the most important thing, human values back. We will become human being again. We will no longer be money-making robots. Today, whole world is inhabited by money-making robots. They have no human values. That's why war is possible, because robots can always have wars. Human beings cannot have wars, destroy each other, and kill each other at will. That's not the human instinct. That's not the human values that we have. Human values is about sharing, about caring, about embracing the neighbors, living together. These are the human values. So we have to build a new civilization based on human values. And that's where we're in. We are dedicated to build them piece by piece. This is what the discussion points will all be. All along this discussion that we have during this Social Business Day as to how this is being done. It's not about ideas, it's concrete examples. So we come here, all these hundreds of delegates, we are here today from 66 countries, and maybe many more in our social media through YouTube and Facebook and so on. The one thing that we want, how to create a civilization based on human values. That's why we brought in many ideas that we can bring it to. During the discussion sessions, these ideas will be discussed not as a future possibilities. These will be discussed as what we have done. Even a tiny little thing, even they say, we see the ocean in a drop of water. So what we're really doing, we are seeing the whole ocean in a drop of water. But every step that we make in the direction of rediscovering ourselves, human being, these little action gives us hope, gives us a confidence, builds us, it keeps us inspired that we can build that world where we can be human beings again, as a truly human beings, not kind of a artificially created robot chasing money. Greed-based civilization. Greed-based civilization has to end. It's simple as that. How it will be done? We are trying some path. We may not be the perfect one yet, but this is the path that we have to build step by step. Make those paths possible. A world which will be lived by human beings, not robots. We want to tell the civilization that will be emerging. Our children will be learning that this is a world of human beings with human values of sharing, of caring, taking care of each other, and so on. So this is the whole gist of the Social Business Day. It's not something that we make speeches to each other. We just talk to share our experience with each other. We share our experience to each other, and we inspire each other. And we see even the little sign of hope, we get excited that yes, it's possible. And there we keep reminding ourselves, nothing is impossible for human being. All we need to do is to make up our mind. So we come here, reconfirm that we believe in it, we want to do it, we want to make sure we can go towards that creation of a new civilization. That's the theme, that's what we'll discuss, what is being done, how to expand it from what is being done, what we did in the wrong way, how to correct it if we have done it the wrong way, how to improve it. We have been talking, since we have massive failure in our pandemic experience, as I said, the vaccine became the symbol of the civilization that we belong to, and we want to undo that civilization. We are talking about an undoing process. We want to create social business pharmaceutical company as a kind of a departure from the greed-based pharmaceutical company to human values-based pharmaceutical company, so that when the next generation of vaccines will come to the social business pharmaceutical companies, this will be not for making money, but for saving life. That's their commitment. Every vaccine will have a very loud message that I'm here to save you. I'm not here to make money out of you. So, and every medicine that this pharmaceutical company will produce have the same message. I'm here to save you. I want to make sure your life is safe. I'm sure you have a good life, healthy life, and everybody around you will have a healthy life. And that's the assurance that the social business pharmaceutical company will give. So this is the direction we want to make. We want to proceed and see how we can do and get excited about the work that we have done so far and get inspired by the experiences that we have and move forward from that. With these words, I conclude my remarks and also welcome you to the Social Business Day and welcome you to all the sessions, very exciting sessions. Our team has worked very hard to design these sessions in a way that you can not only enjoy listening, but also get inspired to action. So do things in your own way. So we'll be listening to all this participation, discussions, dialogues, and presentations, and 3 days of exciting discussion, 3.5 days left of exciting discussions coming up from this. And welcome to the Social Business Day. And wonderful to have this great family gathering. Let's get ready for the next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We deeply appreciate your inspiring words. I think the opening session has set the exact tone for the coming 3 days, and we go inspired into the plenary sessions and the remaining proceedings. With that, we conclude the opening ceremony. However, I will request all the speakers who are still available on the Zoom bot at the moment, Lamia, Professor Yunus, Saskia, Hans, Professor Ranga, Professor Waspa, Professor Mohammed, if you are available, if you wouldn't mind please turning on your screens, the team would like to do a very quick photo capture of the opening.
Great.
Tech team, do advise us once this is done.
Okay, sir, we're done.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for all who have joined us. We will welcome you back to the next session, which is plenary 1, urgency for building a new civilization. We request everyone, all participants, to go back to your Zoom tickets to the lobby, and then we will see that shortly. Looking forward to the next session. See you all in plenary 1. Thank you.
Can you say when? Can you say when that starts?
This starts right about in the next 5 minutes, please. So you can move on to your Zoom tickets and you will note that the session will already be in order. Thank you.